So I'm going to be going over Moon Knight combos, right? But there's a little bit to talk about, so just bear with me, okay? So the first kind of combo, not really a combo, but it's nice to know, is melee weaving on Moon Knight. Now, the thing is, on Moon Knight, the most consistent way with DPS, even when you're literally like kissing someone, is to just shoot them. Melee weaving does mess up your DPS a tiny bit, but if you're fighting a shield tank, right, melees go through shields. Realistically, this combo is only good for Strange, but it can apply to Cap. Okay, yo, shut up. It can apply to Cap and Angela, and so the reason why this is a decent combo against these shield tanks is because not only are you shooting to break their shield, you're meleeing, so you also get into their actual health pool. Now, before the actual combo, I need to basically state that this is 120 meters per second, right? And this is 150. And so, when you throw your secondary, or just like your Moonblade, and then you throw out your primary attack, especially at a long distance, they're gonna meet each other at the same time, basically. And the reason why that demonstration is important, right, is because ever since Moon Knight got his second Moonblade, the most common combo was double Moonblade. And this is not a bad combo. This does do damage, and it does give him a lot of shield. This is not a horrible combo. This is a combo you should use every once in a while, especially if you're just want to get your health up. The thing is, because of this demonstration I told you, you actually might want to do just the old combo, which is one Moonblade and one primary attack. And the reason why you want this is because it is basically not reactable. The problem with double Moonblade is that there's a period of time where you just don't get any damage in, like that period of time between both Moonblades. But with this, it is nearly instant. So that is one combo to keep in mind if you want to go for kills. And Moonblade by itself is actually a pretty decent ability. When you shoot your primary attack, you shoot out 3 darts. Each dart does 25 damage. The Moonblade does 80 damage. This basically means that if you perfectly land your Moonblade on oh my god. If you perfectly land your Moonblade on someone, right? You've essentially hit one primary attack. So the reason why I said all of that is because it's not bad to keep one Moonblade on you at all times, since it's literally just a full primary attack's worth of damage. And not only that, I'm gonna turn this off, Moonblade pretty much comes back every 6 seconds. It doesn't pretty much, it literally comes back every 6 seconds. And your Ankh comes back every 12 seconds, which means that if you were to do your double Moonblade combo, you're going to get one Moonblade halfway through your Ankh. And when your Ankh finally comes back, you'll have enough time to get another Moonblade. All in all, right, double Moonblade combo is not bad, but generally speaking, especially if they're further away, you just want to do one Moonblade and one primary fire. And now, the last thing I really want to talk about is your ult combo. So, Moon Knight ult, not really the biggest ult in the game, right? But since Ankhs do pull you in, you want to combine your Ankh and your ult as you're shooting the Ankh to get crazy damage. So, this is what it's going to look like if you just do a normal Moon Knight ult without doing literally anything. And this is what your ult looks like when you actually help back it up. Also, one more thing I want to add is, when you're in a range where it's very easy for you to land direct hits, you actually do less damage with the Ankh. Okay, so I pretty much reset their health, and when you just directly shoot the Ankh, this is how much health. This is like, what? Like nearly a quarter? This is like nearly halfway. As I said, direct hits with the Ankh do more damage, so I'm not even gonna headshot this guy. I'm gonna body shot him. This is a bit more than half, right? And this is way more than a quarter. So only shoot your Ankh if you're too far away, but if you are going for, you know, an extreme amount of burst damage, and you're close to the squishies, try to shoot them inside of the Ankh's range. So we're going to be talking about counters now, and Moon Knight pretty much gets countered by everyone that thrives in the range where he doesn't thrive. And so Moon Knight pretty much gets countered by dive, and the reasoning is that because Moon Knight is a projectile character, it's actually decently hard for him to land projectiles if I'm literally kissing him in the face, because since I'm how close I am to him, right? Since I'm closer to his camera, that means I'm going to be moving faster. And since projectiles don't hit instantly, it's going to be really hard for him to hit me, and I'll be able to outdamage him as pretty much any dive character. And since Moon Knight doesn't have any really good escape options, yes, he has mobility tools, but those tools are not good for escaping. I can just constantly chase him down and just harass him. The only real way Moon Knight can deal with dive on his own is just saving an Ankh as like an anti-dive Ankh, since it kinda has like CC. And Moon Knight pretty much gets countered by any of the DPS that can snipe him, so like Hela, Phoenix, and Widow, because as I said, since he has projectile weapons, I will literally have an easier time fighting him one-on-one if we're this distance away, since I have time to react to his attacks, but he literally has no time to react to my bullets at all. Well, it's more like hit scam, but you get the point. So I'll basically be going over characters that Moon Knight counters to some extent. Moon Knight counters Punisher because his ult beats Punisher's ult. Oh my gosh, shut up, Moon Knight. His ult counters Punisher's ult because Punisher is super stationary in that ult, and you know, you don't want to be stationary inside of a Moon Knight ult. Moon Knight counters Loki because he requires less effort to destroy multiple clones bunched up together compared to other characters. Moon Knight is decent against Groot because Groot doesn't have a shield, and Groots usually play clustered with their teams, so it allows you to do more damage and build your ult charge more. Moon Knight is good against Penny because it's kind of like the same thing as Groot, and people are going to be playing in the webs, and Penny loves playing in webs, so you're just going to be damaging people like crazy. And not only that, Moon Knight is one of the very few characters that can deal with nests since he is a poke character. Moon Knight is actually pretty good against Namor because his projectiles don't really have like crazy fall off against his squid, so he's actually not that bad of a squid buster. Moon Knight's ult is not that bad against Adam's ult, it's just that Adam ults are usually sneaky if the Adam is good. But the thing is that Adam Warlock Soulbound kinda gets negated by how Moon Knight works, because if damage is already being spread out to multiple people, and then Adam's ability is to spread out that damage to people, in a way, Soulbound doesn't really do anything against Moon Knight, as long as Moon Knight is hitting multiple people at once. Moon Knight ult counters Jeff ult because Jeff is extremely stationary when he pops up. Moon Knight is good against Thing because of literally the same thing I said about Groot earlier. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's like the counters I can think of for Moon Knight against the roster. So now let's get into Moon Knight's game plan. And the way I like to think about Moon Knight is that he's a character that punishes really extremely close-knit team comps, and he applies insane pressure to squishies, especially if they don't expect him in his on combo. And this dude's game plan is so simple because it is determined by if you have his Ankh or not. If you don't have his Ankh, like in the background footage right now, you basically shoot the biggest clusters of enemies so you can pressure the front line, and also so you can build your ult charge. However, you don't want to be completely feeding the enemies their support ult charge, right? And you also want to be using your abilities, so once you finally have your Ankh, you should try your best to get in a position where you can throw your Ankh and just do extreme damage to squishies. Now, especially when you're about to do your Ankh combo, you should try your best to get to an off angle, and basically, I would explain what an off angle is, but I am so tired of explaining it because I've done 2 other guides about it, sorry about rambling. Or just getting some height in general. And now you can get into these different positions by either using your mobility abilities or by just pre-positioning yourself. And the reason why getting into these different positions is good is because you will have a better field of view to decide where your Ankh will land, right? And the enemy team is going to have to dedicate more resources to getting you out of that position. However, without his Ankh, Moon Knight is a very easy to kill character because of his lack of escape options and lack of burst damage. Basically, after landing your Ankh combo, you should try your best to stay in that angle as long as possible until you start to get pressured off of the angle. Obviously, your mechanical skill and the enemy comp along with their skill level will determine if you should challenge the enemies for your position. For example, if the only person who contests you is a really bad Star-Lord, you can fight that Star-Lord and stay in that spot. Unfortunately, Moon Knight is just a very easy character to fight against directly, so you'll need to know when to give up your position and to reposition back towards your team. Moon Knight is definitely considered an ult farmer of all time. There are so many different interactions you can have with Moon Knight ult, but I'm going to list out the most common 4. First situation you would want to use Moon Knight ult is towards a big cluster of enemies, mainly towards squishies. The second most common situation you would use Moon Knight ult is if you want to split the enemy's frontline and their backline so your team can focus the frontline, aka the tanks. The third most common situation for Moon Knight ult is combining it with a tank ult like Groot, Angela, Doctor Strange, or Emma. The fourth most common Moon Knight ult situation is using it to counter low mobility ults such as Jeff, Punisher, or Adam. A good thing to also know is that since Moon Knight does so much damage, he can basically lap these ults. So it's okay to use these ults, but you should honestly use every other ult to counter these enemies. Okay, I know this game right here has been used for the background footage for a while, but I'm not really playing Moon Knight a lot this season, you know, so I might as well just use this game. Okay, so right now I have Ankh. I'm just pre-firing the smoke, trying to see if anyone's there. I just get up here, right? Now, especially since my Punisher's dead. Well, I was already going to do this, but especially now that my Punisher's dead, I need to put pressure on their back line, and so they don't completely roll my front line. And so, can't really get a kill, but both supports are basically hurt there. And so right here, I'm just rotating back towards my team, because I don't have Ankh anymore, and I know that we're going to take height. And so right now, I'm just, you know, damaging people in that big cluster, have Ankh again, and now I'm back on height since I have Ankh. And then right here, I decide to stay up on height since it would buy more time for my team to come back, since they have to waste more resources clearing me out. And I'm also just a lot more annoying. The reason why I dropped there is because, well, it literally just happened here. The reason why I dropped here is because I knew they were going to contest me on height, and I didn't just want to die immediately, so I just dropped down just to make it a bit more unexpected. Technically, this is an off angle. It's just a really risky one since I'm literally on the same ground as them and I'm behind them, singled out, so that's why it's hella risky, but I do get back up on height. And then, since it's a single person, I'm going to use my Ankh to try and confirm the kill here. And I do get the kill. I'm just pestering them right now. I'm most likely going to die here, but I do get Gambit ulted. Kind of a bad Moon Knight ult, but it does split their supports from their DPS, and so that's how we get back the point. I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be watching a pro player's Moon Knight because, one, bedtime story is better than me at Moon Knight, and it would be nice to watch someone who's better than you. And two, it's just a little bit of a different situation that I can analyze. And so, right now, as you can see, literally from the replay, Bedtime Story's team literally just got wiped, and so everyone's technically going to group up together here. This next fight basically determines if it's going to be pushed into OT or not, since if the defenders win, they literally lose control of cart, and it's 18 seconds on the clock. They just completely end it here. And so right now, alright, we're going to be looking at... Wait, can I pause with that? Okay, I can pause like that. Okay, sorry. So right here, he's going to be walking out, but he's not going to be fully committed to walking out since his tank's not there to really frontline with him, right? Bedtime Story's hella dies here, and usually most of the time, if you're going to be fighting a 5v6, you should honestly, you know, back out a little bit, play a bit more passive, but it's different here because the spawn room is right here. This means that literally if you take too much damage on anyone, literally anyone on the defender team, you could just back up and just go into the spawn to get healed instantly. And not only that, since the spawn is literally right there, as soon as Hella spawns, she's technically back in the team fight, in some sense. And so that's why the defenders are pushing up right here. Also, I forgot to mention, Bedtime Story is most likely looking for an ult with his Groot here, because that is the most easy way for his team to just win this fight completely. But now that his Groot appears, he's going to start walking. Alright. He's probably looking for an ult with his Groot. Yep. Now he just ults the two tanks in the front line. Unfortunately, those two tanks do not die because of Invis ult. I don't know. They might have gotten cleansed by Gambit. I'm too lazy to check, but it's whatever. We ignore it. But the thing is that right now, Bedtime Story also got Gambit ulted. And the best thing to do in this case is to play inside of the Invis ult and just farm your ult charge and also just deal damage in general. Because if you look in the back right now, that Cap is smacking ass on point. He is distracting the people on cart, and so it is genuinely possible to get kills inside of this Invis ult. So that is literally what he's going to start doing. So, right. Literally what I said. He's just smacking ass, bro. He just shoots people. I don't know what to say. He just plays it so well. But that's pretty much my analysis of what just happened. So anyway, that is pretty much the end of the guide. I'm gonna be kind of taking a break making these character guides, so I would appreciate it if people left suggestions in the comments for more like abstract concepts and ideas, such as like, I don't know, how to stop being a bot or something. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know.